Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create. We're going to continue working on this 8.5 by 8.5 Sea World album featuring the Stamperia Sea World collection. And we are on page 3. So page 3 has a total of 3 flaps, and I have this piece of designer paper in here because I'm going to kind of show you what we're doing. We're going to feature 2 of these, which are cut aparts from the 12 by 12 collection. But let's go ahead and get started by laying in these panels. So I have 2 flaps, which are 5 by 8, and they're going to get installed like so, and they're going to open away from the middle like so. And then I have this last flap that's going to go here, and then I'm going to mat one of these design features, so it's actually going to get layered onto this thin flap here like so, and then I'm going to use the second mat back here, and it's going to get covered with designer paper. I just want it to be nice and rigid, and I also want a nice frame around whatever designer paper I put on the back. So I've double cut that, and I'll tell you what, in this case, I've trimmed out this piece to be 5.5 by 5.5, so it's a nice square. So this is 5 5/8 by 5 5/8. But it really depends on what size element you use here. If you use the same thing I did, then 5 5/8 is going to work. But if you decide to cut out something smaller or use a rectangular shape, whatever that mat is, you know, it can vary accordingly. And I am going to adhere it to this. Okay, so 2 5 by 8s is what we're going to start with. And this is going to get installed on the spine side. Is that right? I'm trying to think about how I want to install it. It doesn't have to be on the spine. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. I'm going to install it on the spine side, and I'm just applying it directly to the edge of the pocket page. And then we just did this in the last tutorials, but we're going to go over it again, and these are going to be opening up like away from each other. So I'm going to rest it right there on this piece of paper. I'm going to hold that flange down and press it into place. I just like this design. It's easy to do, and I think it's pretty when it's done. Okay, and I just press it into place, and that's it. And so there we have it. Okay, and you can decide which way you want it to open or close later, but for now, I think I want it to close away from the spine. And this is the flap that is going to go on the pocket side of the page. And the measurements are 3.5 by 8. 3.5 by 8, score 1/2 inch on the 3.5 inch side. And it's just going to get applied flush. And then we are going to apply this mat with this decorative element. Now I'm not going to do it right at the moment because I want to get these designer papers in and then decide how I want to place it on the panel. Do I want to place it all the way on the edge or further over? And I can't make that decision until I've got this decorative paper in. So I'm going to set this aside, and we will make that decision on where it's going to be located after. And of course it could actually go on this side. It's up to you entirely, but I'm going to put it on the small side. After I get the designer papers laid in, then I'll make this decision. It is what I would consider a topper feature. We've already had one of those in this album. This is another one where you want to get the designer paper in and then add it on top. So I'll be back in a few minutes with the designer paper, and we can start making some of those decisions. Okay, thanks everybody. Hi everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create. And I'm back to continue working on Sea World, which is one of Stamperia's new releases this year, and it's just gorgeous. I love Stamperia papers, and I know you guys do too. So where are we? We are on page 3. So I've got my papers laid in. Honestly, I've lost track of whether or not they've been fine-tuned or not, but they're at least rough cut. And this is another one of the pages that has a topper feature. So it gets applied after we get the flaps decorated. So what I've done is I took this cut apart and I matted it, and then I took the same one and flipped it over, and I have the back. So we have the front and back, and this is actually going to sandwich one of these flaps, and you'll see that when we get to it. But if you haven't already, these are 5.5 by 5.5. So I cut this 5 5/8 by 5 5/8, and I cut 2 of them, one for the front and one for the back side. Go ahead and do that and set those aside. And then we can get started on the actual page 3. So page 3 is pretty straightforward. We've got a small flap here, and this small flap is what I'm going to attach attach this to. And then we've got a flap that goes left and one that goes right. And then we have this middle space. So we've got this going on, and somehow I messed that up. And then we've got these 2 flaps. And I think I'm missing a piece here, but we'll get to that. I'm not really worried about it at the moment. So, oh, here it is. I was touching it. So when I was designing this, I had not put in a magnet. So we need to do that now. And so my plan is to decorate this panel, add this, and then between these 2 pieces, add a magnet, and it's going to have its opposing magnet on this flap over here. So I'm going to set this aside so I don't accidentally cover this up. And I'm going to put a big giant mark on here that says magnet. So we don't forget to do that. And then we need to add a magnet here before we completely affix it to this side. So my plan, I think, is to try to center this on these 2 panels. But for the moment, we can just go ahead and decorate this small panel, because that is not going to change. And we know these are the 3 inside, so I'm going to set those aside and close that up. And then I think I've got this for the cover, if I'm correct. Yeah, this is the cover. So I'll set that over to the left. So I'm trying to minimize my confusion later on. And these are all internal pieces. So I know these 3 pieces, the outside, the inside, these can get laid down because there's not going to be any magnets on here. My magnet is going to go on here somewhere. So I'll get these on. The next step will be to apply this, and then we can get the mate magnet put up. Okay, it looks like these are pretty close. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the outside, and I'm going to use my contrast sheet just because it makes it so much easier. That's not the side I want. Here's the side I want. And it's not quite trimmed, so 7 7/8. Okay, it was a little too tall, and now it's still a little too narrow. So let's take care of that. Not a lot, just a little. Okay, let's see how this looks. Yeah, that looks good. So let's get some ink on. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Paula. I talked to her today. She was having, she had some questions about how to put an album together, so I chatted with her on the phone. She's from Colorado. It was nice to chat with you today, Paula. She's actually working on the Birdsong album, which is, without a doubt, one of my favorite papers. And interestingly enough, I guess it is yours too, because it, of all my videos, it has gotten the most views in the shortest amount of time. That's a very popular paper collection, and rightfully so. I really like it. Anyway, she's busy working on her album, and she's a new subscriber, so welcome aboard, Paula. And I understand, I'm not sure if it was her daughter or her daughter-in-law is the one that helped her find our channel. So we really appreciate it when you guys find us and then share us with other like-minded crafters. We appreciate that a bunch. All right. So today is a special day. It is April 3rd. Sorry, I was having a hard time getting that in straight. So I'm gonna turn it over. And it is my birthday. So today's my birthday, April 3rd. And I had a nice morning. My son got me a very nice card. And my husband, I think I over trimmed that. Oh, I hate it when that happens, but we'll have to make it work because I don't have any spare paper. My husband got me a nice purse. My purse was looking pretty ratty. So he got me a nice purse, which was kind of nice. So he's off running some errands and I'm here playing in the craft room, as it should be. Okay, these are gonna go side by side. I'm gonna start by putting this one down. And this actually looks like it's ready to go, just needs some ink. I can't be sure, but I think it's a 12 by 12 pattern. But honestly, all the papers go together. You could mix and match them any way you want with this collection because there's rust and blue and cream and black in every single one. So no matter what you put it next to, it's gonna work. So see what I mean? So, I mean, they're very different, but it's still pulling in all the same colors. So you can really mix and match any way you want. I feel like the patterns that I pulled together for the graphic collections are a little different because not every single page goes with every other single page. And in Stamperia, that's not the case. So it's, Stamperia is very forgiving, I think. Meaning you don't have to spend as much time paper planning because every sheet goes with every other sheet. In graphic, you really got to think it through because sometimes you wind up with two sheets that just don't look good together. They don't work. Okay, so this is going to go right here, and this is opens to the left and right, so this is actually a hinge. And I'm going to ink this. It looked like it was the right size. Yeah, I'm going to ink it and lay it down. Okay, that's enough blabbing about paper design. What else is going on? Oh, I went for a nice walk with my dog today. I'm trying really hard to do 2 miles a day because honestly, I'm getting old and out of shape and I need to get up away from the desk every once in a while. So my sister is probably one of my closest friends, if not my closest friend. She lives here in San Diego also. And we're very close, not just in our relationship, but in age. She's only 11 months, 2 weeks older than me. So my mother was very busy for those couple of years of her life. Anyway, she lives here local, and so we chat with each other every day, and we both sort of challenged each other to try to walk 4 miles a day. So I put my 2 miles in this morning, and I'm going to do my best to get back outside before it gets cool and try to get in a couple more miles. And I'm really slow and pokey because I have my dog who, she's a puppy, and I'm telling you, it's either she's pulling my arm out of its socket because she's so excited, or I'm dragging her because I can't get her to stop sniffing around. So she's a real handful. Okay, so we've got that done. So now I'm ready to go ahead and pull this design feature in. And because I want to have it centered, I don't think I really need to finish. I don't think I need to do anything else to get that started. So what I want to do is figure out, I'm going to take the top one away. I'm going to figure out, and I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to do this eyeball because measuring takes too much time and I get too stressed out about it. I'm going to figure out where I want my magnet. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and center it. So I'm going to lay this down. So from here to here is one flap, and I'm just going to center it in the middle of that flap, which is about right here. And I'm going to tape that down, and then we're going to attach this. So I'm going to start by adding this right. Now that I know I have a magnet in here, the adjoining magnet is going to be placed down here. But for now, I'm going to glue this together on this side, and then I'm going to slip it over this flap. So it's going to sandwich it like so. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so Well, yeah, and the reason I want to do that is because I feel like if I glue these two edges together, you don't have to do it this way, but I feel like if I glue this together while I'm holding it separate from the book, I can get my corners married up better and then worry about the placement on the flap a little bit later. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on getting about that much done. And then make sure that I'm leaving this open to add here. So I can always add more glue because it's gonna be able to open up like a clamshell. So I'm gonna make sure I've got it the direction I want it, and I do. So this is up, and I just check the other side to make sure they're both, oops, up, and I just ran my hand through the glue. And I'm just gonna marry the corners up and press this into place. Okay, so I just feel like I could get that more square. Now the alternative is you glue the top one on, you open it up, and you glue the back one on. So either way works. It's just sort of wherever your confidence lies. Okay, so that's in place. So now I'm gonna open it up and I'm gonna add glue all over the inside here, and I'm gonna slip it on to this flap. And I'm going to give you a peek inside in just a second. So there's what I did. Now you're going to need to add glue on this side too, because remember, one is going to be glued here and the other is going to be glued here. So not just one side, you got to glue both sides. And then wherever there's any overlap, it'll just join. Okay, there we go. So like I said, I'm just going to eyeball this. I'm going to start by looking at it real quick. And okay, I'm trying to give myself some visual cues. So this is about where I want it to come down to and about how far over. And now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and try to see that it's going level. Sorry about that, my dog's, something's irritating her. But I can't get up right now because my glue will not be very forgiving if I do. So I'm just checking to make sure it's not drifting up or down. I'm pressing it into place on both sides. Okay, there we go. So that's in. And like I said, now we know we've got a magnet in here. I'm going to lay my magnet here and get some tape behind it and then press it into place on the opposite side. And then we can finish decorating. Oops, but that's not the attracting side, so I got to flip it over. Oh. Nope, I had it right. There it is. Okay. So now I'm going to just close the flap and it'll find its location naturally. And there it is. Okay. So, and you know how I love my snaps when I close it and it just snaps shut. So that's done. So now it's time to add some decorative papers here. And I need to stop for a second and remember what my top page is. So this is one option, and this is my other option. And I think I like this better. Although I know what I did. I designed it originally so that when you opened it, you saw two of these green ones, and then opened it one more time to see two green and this one in the middle. But this is the other option. And that looks just a little too boring. So I am going to stick with this. So these are for sure. So now the question is, what's going to be on top? This one? Which one looks better behind the lady? And I always want to design, I actually like them both, but I think that looks prettier. I like to, if I have to make choices on my patterns, and this is just a process discussion here, I'll always put my preferred on the A side because that's the side that's most often going to show, and it's going to be the first thing you see. Also, a lot of times the A side's really not designed to have photos on it. It's the B sides where the photos are. So I don't feel as strongly about covering up the pattern on the B side. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to remove all the insides for the moment and close it back up, and then let's get this one measured and ready to go in. I'm going to get my contrast sheet so it's a little easier for you guys to see it. You don't have to see every single thing, and it looks like I need to trim this down, so I'll do that real quick. Okay, we should be good to go. Let's test it. Yes, we are. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I like this. I think I'm happy with the change. Oh, I hear my son in the background. I thought he was gone. Okay, I'm gonna get this out of the way and we're gonna take a look at it. We're gonna listen to that lovely snap. It wasn't very loud, but there it is. I can feel it. Okay, so there's our cover. So now we need to take care of the insides. We're moving right along. Okay, so we're gonna use contrast sheet again. This is gonna go here. And I like that. That's still pretty. Hopefully I'm completely in frame. Someday I'll get it figured out where I can actually see what I'm doing while I'm teaching. But not today. It's too much. Okay, let's see. How did we do? All of a sudden, my paper trimmer is, it's not cutting the way it should. After all I've told you about how much I love this trimmer, all of a sudden, I say all of a sudden, I'm 5 years into it, so even if it went kaput, I've more than got my money's worth. I'm sure I craft more than the average person. Probably, speaking of which, how much crafting do I do? I probably craft about, and I'm not kidding, anywhere from 60 to 80 hours every 2 weeks. Not all of it cutting, naturally, but designing, crafting, building, filming, and editing. It's a full-time job. It's a full-time job and I never have to leave home. I really hate to cover that up, but I just think that's way too busy, so we're gonna stick with this. And this is, I really don't know. I was gonna say it's 12 by 12, but I'm really not sure now. It looks a little too small. It might be the 8 by 8. So I'm going to pause for a second. I need to go talk to my son who's getting ready to head out the door, and I'll be right back after. First I'm going to lay this down, then go chat, and I'll be right back. So his girlfriend brought me the nicest birthday present. I love eggs, and when I was growing up we had chickens, and I know what fresh eggs taste like, and I just love them. She brought me a carton of fresh eggs from her chickens today. So I was pretty excited about that. Hang on. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, they were actually, it's late, but they're gonna go get a late lunch. But it was nice that she brought me those eggs for my birthday. So tomorrow I'm gonna make homemade waffles with fresh eggs, and that should be delicious. That's what I'll make for my boys because they don't like eggs, and then I'm gonna make myself fried eggs because, oh, is there any other way to have eggs? Fried eggs on toast. That's my thing. Okay, so there's the inside. Moving right along, and it does look like all of them need to be trimmed, so be patient with me. So I know lots of you are subscribers and some of you are new, so I'm going to share with you what I'm doing. So I like a tight border on all my albums. So what I do is I take an 1/8 of an inch off the top and an 1/8 of an inch off the width, which gives me a 1/16 inch border. That is the size that I'm trimming these down to, just so you can see. I don't write that anywhere because as far as I'm concerned, how you like to mat your albums or your pictures is really personal. Some people like an 1/8 of an inch, some people like a 1/4 inch. I like a very tight border. So like I said, I'm taking an 1/8 off the height and width of the finished panel size. And what do I, ooh, that looks too small. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by a finished panel is this would be the finished panel size. So I'm taking off that 1/2 inch, that's a score line. So whatever is going to be displayed. So if you have a 5.5 by 8, then this is a 5 by 8 finished space, and I make it 4 7/8 by 7 7/8 is the paper that I trimmed out. It's an easy thing to just back off the whole number and 1/8 of an inch height and width, and then you come up with your fit. Now, why am I trimming all the time while you guys are watching? Well, that's because I do a lot of my rough cuts, which helps me plan the distribution of the paper throughout the book in my dining room, sitting with my husband watching TV. And then when I come in here to film for you guys, I actually double check the size and trim it to fit. And I find I'm most happy with that process. Pre-cutting and trying to pre-cut exactly, I find that I'm just a little bit disappointed. Things are never exactly what you expect. So putting it on, dry fitting it, and then trimming it to fit, I think gives you the absolute best result. It slows things down, but I think you wind up with a much better product. So that is really, kind of a personal thing. Not everybody has that kind of patience. Some people want to pre-cut everything so that when they start gluing, that's all they're doing, but that's not my process. So hopefully this isn't too boring for you guys. And sometimes I get closer in the pre-cut stage than others. Than other days. Okay, so we should be good to go. Let's get some ink on everything and lay these down. And we're coming toward the close of page 3. Hey, I have a question for you guys. So I asked some questions in the last set of videos and you guys answered me, and I really appreciate that. And I talked about, do you guys want to see me go through repetitive processes? Do you want me to fast forward? Anyways, so I got some feedback and most of you guys are just fine with it the way it is. And you know how to use the fast forward feature on YouTube if you want to fast forward through something that I'm doing repetitively. And you can also pause when you want, right? So the other question I have is I just recently changed sort of the format of the videos in the playlist. And what I used to do is try to keep the videos down to about an hour. And I would squeeze as many pages into that 1 hour video as I could. And then recently, I changed it and I just started doing 1 video per page. So sometimes a video could be 45 minutes and another video might be 20, just because it's a simple page. So I'd like to get some feedback from you guys on how you feel about that. Would you like 1 video per page, regardless of length, or would you prefer that I just try to make them about an hour in length? So as it is, you'll get 8 videos, 1 for each page, plus a cover and a walkthrough. But if I go back to the old one, you might wind up with maybe 6 videos. Typically, page 4 and 5 I do together just because they're mirrors and they're side by side, so there's really no reason to do 2 videos. And I'll continue to do that right now. But like in this case, page 1 wound up being 40 minutes, page 2 wound up being 20 minutes, and I'm not sure what this is going to be, but I could put page 1 and 2 together. Let me know in the comments, please. And I will organize those, you know, however makes sense. I think 1 page per video kind of made sense. I don't know why I wasn't doing that before. So let me know. And that way, you know, when you go onto a new page, you don't have to try to find it in the middle of it. Like if page 1 and 2 were together, you'd have to go find page 2 is in the middle of that video somewhere. And this way, if it's 1 video per page, you know when you start, you're going to have the beginning of the page and it'll finish before you leave. Anyway, just give me some feedback. I appreciate it, and I'll try to do my best to accommodate all the feedback. Did I already ink it? I did. Okay. This is definitely 8 by 8 because I know that the size of that is small. And I'm going back and forth on what the cover's going to look like. I really liked this. It's kind of like a clock and a directional. I don't know what it is actually, but I like it. And then I also like the picture of the lady. That's on the signature page, which is what I've so far set aside for the cover, but I keep going back and forth. So you guys will have to wait. I've set aside both so I can make my decision at the last minute. And you'll see kind of why I'm straying away from this using this as the cover. I actually used this as, I split this between page 4 and 5, so it's actually quite stunning. And since I'm using it on the inside of the book, I don't know if I want to use it on the outside of the book. Anyway, like I said, I'm going back and forth. Beautiful day here in San Diego, but I hear there's a huge storm headed our way, and it's supposed to rain every day next week, which is bad news for my dog, but good news for you because that means I'll be spending more time in my craft room because there's absolutely nothing else to do. I can't even go for a walk. All right, here we go. We're coming towards the end here of page 3. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Just trying to get up that extra glue so when I close it, it doesn't try to glue to the page opposing it. And I think that's just lovely. This is going to be an awesome place for journaling or a photo. And this is going to be really easy to put. All of these are going to be very easy to place photos on. Sometimes the pattern is such that there's parts of it you don't want to cover, but this will be pretty easy to use. Okay, so that closes, and this closes on top of that. And then, of course, we've got our magnet here and here. And there you go. That is the end of page 3, and I'm really happy with the way that turned out. I've done this before, and I think the last time I did one like this, it was also a Stamperia album, and which was quite some time ago. It was a rectangular feature, but I'd done the same thing where I sandwiched it on a small flap. And I like the look. I think it looks very good. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to center things because by nature of having your flaps attached to the edge, everything's to one side or the other. So this is a way to kind of overcome that from a design perspective for all of those of you that are taking my design process tips and trying to, and you know, developing your own albums. That's one of the reasons, or one of the ways you can center a design feature is by doing what I just did and still have functioning flaps. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in and all our new subscribers that have joined us in the last month. We really enjoy putting these videos out for you. Our content is free. It will remain free. If you start an album with us, you'll always be able to finish it. We have no plans to ever take our videos offline. Even if we at some point decide that we don't have an online store anymore, we'll continue to leave our videos online. If you click the show more in the description, the first thing you're going to come across is a list of items that we sell in our store that are used in this project. And we appreciate it if you give us a chance. We understand that we're not for everybody, but if you give us a chance, take a look around. We do our best to be competitively priced. Just below that, you will find the cut list for this album. The cut list includes all of the components that are specific to this album. So when I say specific to this album, I mean SeaWorld. So the flaps and pockets related to SeaWorld. To find the base build, go back to the 8.5 by 8.5 base build, and the cut list for that will be included in that tutorial. So if you're looking at our playlist, the first one is a walkthrough, the second one is the build the album, and then the videos that follow that are the videos that customize it for a particular paper line and add the decorative paper. All of our playlists are organized the same way. So once you get used to that, it's very easy to navigate, you know, the content that we have available for you. If you're watching this and you're new to our channel, please consider subscribing. You'll be notified when we have new content. I do my best to try to have new content out every couple of weeks, and that content is usually 8 or 9 videos for a complete project. So I try to get 2 projects out a month. Graphic 45, Stamperia, and Ciao Bella are our 3 paper lines that we carry in our online store. So our tutorials will be around that. Although our tutorials are constructed such that you can use any paper that you want. If you just like the build of the album itself, you can use it any way you want. These tutorials are free. There's no copyright. Use them any way you want. Sell them if you like. We just ask that you let people know we're here and share our content with others that you know are like-minded. Thanks again for tuning in. This is Daphne from Scrap and Create. You guys stay safe, and I'll be back soon with page 4.